Is a par-baked grandma pizza better than a standard one-bake? Well, I've found that there's a few key differences between these two. And in today's video, we're gonna compare these two baking styles. A par-bake, I'm learning, is a way of pre-cooking the dough. Taking this and getting this pre-baked dough before topping our pizza and finishing the bake, instead of doing one straight through bake like this. This is my normal 12 by 16, but today we're using the 5 by 7. My plan is a 12-minute bake for each one of these. The par bake will get, well, par baked in a 500-degree oven for 4 minutes to start. Then we'll finish topping it and bake for another 8 minutes. The standard one bake will go into the 500-degree oven as a fully built pizza slice for 12 minutes straight. Same spot. So why would we need to do that? Well, one reason is to get a well-done undercarriage and nice crisping of the edges, but without burning the cheese on top. Another common reason that I've learned is to ensure good oven spring from the dough. If you're gonna put a lot of heavy toppings on top of this pizza, you wanna make sure that the dough isn't gonna just stay flat. So here's the two doughs we're working with today. I love messing around with these little 150-gram dough balls and on this little 5 by 7 pan. And the reason is because I don't have to have so much dough, so much cheese, all the ingredients to make this. I can test a bunch of things. This dough's been sitting out on the counter for a little bit. Just gonna start to press this out to the corners. See, it's almost like need to give it just a little bit more persuasion. I like to kind of just pick the corners up, pull them just a little bit. And then we'll cover this up and let it kind of proof up a little bit. So with my incredible math skills on display, I got a 160-gram block of mozzarella ready to shred up for both pizza slices. Now typically for my grandma pizzas, I've been using a blend of cheeses. Since this is just a quick test, I'm gonna use just all mozzarella. For this par bake versus standard comparison, I wanna use the same amount of cheese on each pizza so we can see how different it looks. This guy's been sitting out for about 20-ish minutes. It's stretching to the pan much nicer now. Get that coaxed all to the edges, and then we'll pop this guy on in the oven. And that's looking ready. Par bake, heading in. 500-degree oven, right over the coil. And I'm gonna set the timer here for just 4 minutes. 4 minutes is up. Keep that 500 degrees in there. And there we go, our par bake. So I just want to get this guy out of here and onto the cooling rack. What this is definitely good for, as you see it's solid, would be able to put all our cheese on top, which is what we're gonna do, and then all of our sauce. If we had a lot of heavy ingredients, this is a good solid base. Now this is 4 minutes in the oven, and it really all it did was just kind of make it into one like solid thing here. It's starting to rise a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit of a crust along the edge. Bottom barely getting browned at all, but that's a good starting point. While I let the par bake cool down for this experiment, I started on the one bake dough, where we have the olive oil on the bottom, and then we have our dough on the top. So we got our dough. Now I want to get the cheese going. And there it is, 80 grams in each tray. Here we go with our 80 grams of cheese. This is grandma style, so cheese on first. And we put that cheese edge to edge. Kind of touch it up against the edges. Very similar to a Detroit. This is how I like to make it anyway. And 80 grams seems to be very generous for this little 5 by 7 pan. You don't really see too many dough spots in there. Actually, I don't see any dough spots in there. This is just some sea salt, oregano, a little bit of red pepper flake, and I like this random dollop thing. Produced a very nice end result. Sauce can get up to the edge too as well. When that cheese caramelizes and you get a little bit of sauce and cheese, kind of, I don't know, caramelized on the edge, whoo buddy. And into the oven, the one bake goes. Same spot. We're gonna set the timer on this one for 12 minutes. 12 minutes is up. You always gotta cut it out of the pan pretty quick. Just use a knife to run along the edges because they can get real crisped up. And we want to release it out of the pan so that it stops cooking. All right, so that's a shot. We got our 12-minute one bake right there. We're looking like we got some nice edges going, though I'm wondering if the bottom didn't crisp up so well, and underdone on the bottom again. That's something that we'll check with this par bake here. We got our par bake back in the pan. Got our 80 grams of cheese. Spread that around generously. Again, getting it all to the edges. You notice how, the par bake didn't quite go edge to edge here. There's a little bit of wiggle room in there with it. Sauce. Gonna try to do the same sort of thing. It was random on the last one, but try to visually not have a crazy amount more sauce or anything like that. And I think that looks like about it. The oven, this one's gonna go same exact spot as I had before. And I'm gonna put the timer for this one on another 8 minutes. Okay, par bake is done.
Whoa, look at that dough.
Instantly, you can already see that the cheese is a lighter color, right? Just get this guy on out of the pan. Just look at the difference between these two pizza slices. Both were cooked for 12 minutes in a 500-degree oven only about a half hour apart from each other. But the par baked dough is cooked first for 4 minutes, then topped to complete the pizza, and cooked again for another 8 minutes. This one is the one bake. This one is the par bake. See the edge on the par bake, you still get that really nice Frico kind of caramelized edge going. I love how it kind of builds up little peaks like that. You can see how on the one bake, the edge, it's like more well done. But just on the edge, underneath it's undercooked. But that's kind of unique to this small pan as well. I've noticed that with this small pan, it just doesn't sit over the coil in the oven quite so well. My big pan, it seems to brown up really nice and evenly when I par bake under this thing. That little pan is barely taking up that one little section there, and it just doesn't quite get the undercarriage quite so well, though the par bake is looking better. All right, so now I want to clear one thing up right away. The undercarriage on this is not to my liking. It's kind of done here, but there's a pretty good spot here where it's missing that doneness. That is absolutely because of my oven and the little coil under it. And it seems to be a thing just with this 5x7 pan. When I use my 12x16 pans, the bottom is really nice and golden brown. So that's a unique thing about this little pan. However, when we compare the par baked pizza to the standard one bake, I mean, come on. This par bake is so much more done on the undercarriage than this guy was. Again, that is to do with the 5x7 pan. This thing just sitting over top of that one coil. But this is a straight 12 minutes in the oven, and it looks completely different to the par bake here. You can even see how the edges look a little bit different too. On the par bake, you almost get more of that Detroit Frico style edge, and that really nice, like cheesy bit kind of bubbling up. This guy looks similar, but it's, I don't know, you compare for yourself, I guess. They just look a little bit different to each other on the edge. Both pies still come out pretty rectangular as well. You saw the par bake when it first went back into the pan, it wasn't quite touching all the edges. I think the cheese helps make up for some of that, and it just kind of like forms into the edge. I don't know. Okay, so we talked about the undercarriage. What about the top? To me, the par baked pizza absolutely looks a million times better than the standard one bake. This is 12 straight minutes in the oven. And look at how browned up the cheese gets in there. The sauce still looks good. It's really nice and vibrant red, but that cheese is way too brown. This looks like it's got nice, gooey, stretchy, cheesy mozzarella, and it looks like the color that you would expect it to be. More of that white with little bits of golden in it with the fat kind of coming out of it. When you look at these side by side, at least I know which one I think looks best. So have you messed around with par baking at all? I really love doing that for my standard 12 by 16 grandma pizza that I've been making for my wife and I on the weekends. The bottom gets beautifully crisp. The cheese looks really nice on top. It has that nice stretch to it. It's not overcooked. The sauce is just beautiful. Let me know what you're working on. Thanks for watching. Dude. Come on, man.